Hey, everybody. Welcome to Tesla Today. It's Thursday. Normally we have Amy with us, but because she's actually flying right now to, I think it's another Tahiti trip, we have Jeff Lutz joining us. He's normally on Mondays, but he himself went on vacation last week. So thank you so much, Jeff. Love it when you can join me. And this is great that we're doing it today.
Yeah, and Amy's literally flying the plane. She's not. She's
Yes.
probably literally flying the plane, so it's amazing.
So, three of the main topics we're going to cover today. First is that we're noticing that a lot of the competitors, Ford and Toyota, we'll talk about today, is copying Tesla's strategy. There are movements with the Superchargers and Walmart, actually, maybe not Superchargers, but certainly expanding their EV charger partnerships, and the Master Plan Part 3 that came out. So, let's get going. Okay, Jeff, let's start with your tweet that you did yesterday. And you said you're addressing this guy named Michael Santoli from CNBC. So, for folks who don't know, Jeff is actually in communication with a number of the key kind of talking heads on CNBC. And this time he couldn't help himself because he had to help fix what they were saying. So, let me just repeat what you said here and then let you talk about it. But basically, you're saying that Tesla, GM, and Ford altogether shipped 200,000 EVs in the first quarter in the US. You're saying, hey, 85% of that came from Tesla. Neither GM or Ford are shipping anything serious volumes. GM's 7-year-old Bolt was 19,000 or their 20,000. And I love that you put this here, which is Tesla's shipped 170,000, GM is only 20,000, and Ford is only 10,000. So why did you
And I
do
think,
this?
yeah. And just there's a slight. I mean, I think it's a total of 190,000 EVs between the companies. I think Tesla's probably closer to 163, but the math all works out. And first off, the on-air, I think most of the on-air personalities are literally they're doing their job, and they're very smart people. I think Mike Santoli's very bright, very intelligent, especially on macro, like what's going on in the markets. I turn to him all the time, so I think the world of him. It's just I don't know what happens at some of these networks. It's particularly definitely CNBC, but I don't know if it's like a thread through like all the producers. But basically, a lot of the information is packaged in a way that you're just really be negative on Tesla. Again, most of the time, this isn't like a 100% of the time thing. But when you look at sentiment indicators, which is what a lot of people do to kind of measure, positive, negative sentiment feedback. I mean, it feels like it's north of 70 or 80% negative in the way they position content. There's another tweet I sent yesterday, just reacting to the 4 p.m. show, where they were basically saying like Tesla's market share is decreasing, and the data point they were using was registrations from January. And my question to them is like, well, this is April 5th. We actually know the shipments, from all these companies. I understand why you want to look at registrations because those are sold through, and that's actually positive for Tesla. But if you just look at January, Tesla's price reductions only started about halfway through in January. And, really, if you ordered a vehicle in, the day of the price reductions, you weren't getting it. You probably weren't even getting it in January. So the point is like the price reductions really didn't hold, but they were using this registration data from January when the data from the whole quarter was there. And that's why I go back to this tweet with Mike, which is basically like his premise was like GM is creeping up in market share. And my point was just, it's nothing meaningful. And then, really their new vehicles that they're doing on the Ultium platform. I mean, they ship 2 Hummers and, handfuls of Cadillac Lyrics. So they're not, the main point is like, they're not in mass production with these vehicles. And then Ford, it literally is declining in volume. So the F-150 was shut down almost half the quarter for that battery fire issue. And the Mach-E was way down in units as well. So what's going on there? And again, these are for the whole quarter. So these units, these cars were under the IRA, and they're going backwards. So there's something to be said there. There's definitely something to look at. But the macro point is like, you have to really look at like, what is there reasonable competition, and where is it going to come from, and where's Tesla going to be when that competition is actually at some reasonable amount of volume? I think Tesla is going to be on to the Gen 3 platform when these companies are still trying to ship Tesla volumes from a couple of years ago. So that was the macro point.
Yeah, I love it. I'm sure that the thing is they know these numbers, right? So why do you think that they are purposely kind of trying to maneuver a little bit or say things a little bit?
Well,
Is that
some
the
of
sense you're
some of
getting?
the on-air talent, there are a few people on air that are short the name, and they do know the numbers, and they do know better.
Yeah.
I would say most of the on-air talent is literally being fed, information in a teleprompter. I think they do their own reading as well and do some of their own research. But so there's a mixture of both. There's something going on. How
Yeah.
these shows are produced. There's some common thread. They do respond to me. They do DM me. We do have some, and they're all good, positive, like conversations offline. But just trying to kind of point them to the fact that it seems like there's overhang in all these stories. Now we got used to that word last year, but like there was an overhang of Tesla in this high flyer company, no margin, not cash flow positive, not making money. And well, that hangover has been gone for a while now. And now they're really getting into serious volumes, and just trying to keep everything in the right context. And so it gets kind of a fair shake. But anyway, it's it's going to happen. Tesla doesn't advertise on these networks. There's no advertising in print media. So, I mean, and Elon has recognized this as well. There is kind of the awkward thing of like, well, they can't be overly, overly constructive on a GM or Ford, because they can just literally knock on the door and say, hey, those ad dollars that literally followed this segment,
Right.
should they be that size or not?
Gotcha. Well, if they ever want a Tesla bull to finally tell everybody what's happening with Tesla as a stock, if they're investing kind of show, we really want you to be up there one day. It's going to happen, man. I'm going to be so proud.
Well, I will tell you this:
hope so.
Gary does a fantastic job with
Yes,
that. When
does.
he's on CNBC, he really calmly and in a very organized manner kind of goes through everything, and he takes some of the curveballs that they come in and he hits them. So I'm very happy when Gary's on. I'm glad that that's ramped up over the last couple of months.
Okay, so we got two news here, one from Toyota and one from Ford. So this came out this morning and said that Tesla's production innovations are influencing Toyota's EV strategy. So the parts here is that we knew that in February, Toyota had already kind of communicated this, that they had taken apart a Model Y, and the executives basically said the words "work of art." This was a work of art. And they had initially planned to continue their production, where we'll see later in the article, they talk about how they have one line, the same line that they're using in a factory to produce both the gas cars, the hybrids. That's where they were going to do electric vehicles. And I think they're changing their minds. So they're now planning a factory overhaul. And this was part of a whole year last year where they were doing some kind of research on what to do. And they're finally kind of deciding what to do. So Koji Sato, the Toyota's new CEO, confirmed that they're going to develop a new EV architecture. And again, like I said, it's got to be its own line as opposed to sharing it. So this is kind of the description of, they've been taking flack for slow adoption of battery electric vehicles, but with a new CEO, a new product architecture, they're finally understanding that this is what they need to do. And again, the other bit of news that we heard last year was Toyota has 8 times Tesla has estimated 8 times the profit per car as Toyota did. So they clearly need to start focusing on cost optimizations. And that's part of the reasons why, if they kept building the EVs along the same assembly line as their gas and hybrids, they can't. It's just so ineffective.
Yeah. And what's so compelling, with this is, coming from the manufacturing industry, Toyota is known for, something called lean or Kaizen. in Japan, and they're
Yeah.
known for obsessing about the number of process steps, excess time and waste, and really trying to find the most efficient route from point A to point B to assemble something. And for them to disassemble a car from Tesla designed in 2019, by the way, we're 4 years ago now, and say that that's a work of art. And then you see what Tesla unveiled a month ago in Master with Investor Day. It just shows you that they're going to be further behind, and Tesla's going to put those cars into production. And that know-how, I mean, Tesla's going to keep, you see them occasionally releasing patents, but the manufacturing and the design know-how for, they're really keeping a lot of stuff. I know that it feels like they revealed a lot of stuff in Investor Day, but they're also keeping a lot of stuff, proprietary, as they should. And you saw that with the line tours. So, there, this goes back to, we talked about this a couple months ago.
Yeah.
These competitors are about a generation behind.
Right.
And you could define a generation as maybe as little as 5 years to upwards of 9 to 10 years behind Tesla. And so when Gen 3 ships, maybe end of next year, early 25, then they're going to have to go find that and buy that vehicle, tear it down, and then gather those learnings, and then go put their own Gen 3 equivalent into the development process, which they won't ship probably until 27 or 28. And this is how, and now it's 2023. So this is how you kind of understand how they could be many years behind. And by the time they ship Gen 3, Tesla will be on, Gen 4. So, this is how this works. That, Tesla's playing the innovation game versus just kind of the patent game and fold your arms and defend the patents. They're out innovating, and that's the key. So it's interesting. It will be interesting to see what Toyota does. They've had a very confusing outward look, both to their suppliers and to the media and to the public, about what their approach is.
Yeah, but they're losing poorly. They're losing. Let's just take a look at the final bit of this article. Said that Toyota's U.S. sales fell nearly 9% in the first quarter of 2023. GM saw a boost, but that's because of small numbers we're talking about, and the EVs compared to what they used to do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you think about it, Toyota, their comps are to Q1 2022, when all of them said that they were in this silicon chip shortage. Not Tesla, but them. Tesla was impacted, but they mitigated most of it. For these companies, they were literally paralyzed. So when they report quarter on quarter numbers, they're comparing themselves to a quarter where they had demand and they did not have the supply to give the demand. So it's almost like they need to compare themselves to Q1 20 or Q1 19 to really have an accurate comparison. Are they growing? How well are they really doing? Because they're comparing themselves right now to a quarter where they admittedly said they had no supply.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So now we're going to talk about Ford. So this again came out yesterday, and they said that Ford plans dramatic reductions in product complexity. We've been hearing the CEO talk about this already, but they've announced it. So Jim Baumbick, the automaker's product development chief, said this on a conference at Bank of America. They need to do dramatic reductions in the complexity of their product line, starting with the 2024 model year. Now, after saying that, they did say, though, that they actually plan to develop more variations of certain model lines, such as the Bronco SUV, because they offer 30% profit margins for it. So they didn't want to sell that. And Jim Farley had said this already previously. So they need to cut billions from operating costs. They need to reduce complexity. Following Elon's, instead of, they used to get negative criticism, Tesla, because everybody said, you only have 4 cars and your Model 3 is, 8 years old and so forth.
Yeah, and this is why I work with companies, in my day job on this. And there's a difference. What they're doing right now involves a machete, and they're literally going in. They have all this existing complexity, and they're literally cut like it's a jungle. They're cutting through all this complexity, and you're going to get limited returns when you do that. Because number one, you're going to have to scrap or obsolete the material that you're cutting, because you've bought it. You've bought a lot of it. And so you're going to have to go cut that out of your material. And then you're going to have to do all the testing on the new material. And then you're going to wonder, like, how long is that product line going to live? So you get really limited returns when you take existing product and you try to put it through this massive cost reduction exercise, unless it's in its very early life. But if it's in its very early life, you really want to actually go in the opposite way. Instead of with a machete, you want to go through the development process with a scalpel, and you want to make sure you're being very critical about every move you make and what its impact is to not only the launch cost of the vehicle, but the lifetime cost of the vehicle as well. And companies who think about launch and lifetime cost tend to do better, because as you could see, like the Model S and how many years that it's lasted. I think Tesla was kind of crude in the Model S and X days to getting those vehicles out, getting a mainstream vehicle out. And if they had their chance again with those architectures, I'm sure that they would approach them in a different way. But now they're approaching architectures with a scalpel. You see all this planning that's occurring now for Gen 3. So there's a big difference in what Ford is trying to do here. I think they're going to have limited success. It's good to see, but I think they're going to themselves, they're going to want a kind of a clean slate and new vehicles, from the ground up. But again, they're benchmarking the 2017 and 2019 design Teslas. And, we know what Tesla's about to ship later this year and into the following year.
What do you think about this? Ethan's asking or saying the smaller product mix works when your strategic target market is business, but wider mix is needed for retail.
It depends. What is the product? If you look at a Tesla, it's an automobile, but it's turning more and more into a software-defined automobile where you could personalize the experiences via software. That's why there's no knobs besides the two on the steering wheel. In a Tesla, there's no knobs to deal with. So it really depends on the product. If you want to go with a wide number of SKUs, what Tesla has openly said, and Franz was in an interview, I think a week ago, they love to see it when people personalize their Teslas. You're like, hey, we're going to give you 5 or so colors that we've curated. We think they look beautiful. We can do beautiful paint systems on them. But if you want to have at it, with the purple wrap, then have at it, or the silver wrap, then have at it. But they're going to really curate that down to, because what that allows them to do is, if they can go with a smaller SKU set, they can take their unit economics, which is the total cost structure to deliver one vehicle, and they can redistribute that in a way that's more meaningful. See, you as a consumer, when you go and buy a blue car, you are paying the cost of Tesla to carry the paint line for white cars and red cars and black cars. You're carrying the development cost for them to do all those models as well. So when you're buying product from a company and they've got a wide range of SKUs because they think they're serving everybody in retail, but you end up really only buying the one thing, you're embedded in the price of what you're paying for that product. You're paying for the development, the testing, the distribution of everything else that every other SKU that everyone else is buying. So as a consumer, I like the fact that Tesla's got a really small number of SKUs relative to the rest of the auto industry. I think it allows them to redistribute those. First, it allows them to give me a product at a lower cost, and it allows them to redistribute those costs into FSD, autonomy, or into the performance of the vehicle that I drive every day.
Oh, we can spend forever on that, but I think that the SKUs, it's like there's just enough. There's enough within each car segment, but you don't need to go crazy like what the OEMs have done. And so here, when you saw the Master Plan Part 3 yesterday, one of the things they talked about was all the different vehicle types that Tesla appears to be going to be addressing. And so they are expanding kind of the segments that they're going to go into. And it's just a matter of you should focus on the segments, but not necessarily have too many SKUs per. So let's just go through each of this. So first of all, they pointed out that today there's 1.4 billion vehicles globally. And the annual every year, the sales is 85 million vehicles per year. And so they calculated from that if you want to switch everybody from ICE, polluting oil cars to electric vehicles, you need 112 terawatt hours of batteries, and autonomy has a potential to reduce that even further, of course. So then they explain this is what they see, right? So the compact, which Tesla does not have one, the midsize, which is Model 3 and Y, commercial passenger vans. Tesla does not have that. It looks like that's going to be to be determined. Large sedan, so this is the Model S and X, including the Cybertruck. A bus. So again, Tesla does not have a bus. And then the semi-light and Tesla semi-heavy. So, they're basically, they've kind of been saying this as well. We've seen this in other presentations that Tesla intends to get into the compact car, into the van, and to the bus. Leon, what's your thoughts on all this, including the pack size and the global fleet numbers?
Yeah, I mean, the one of the criticisms of Tesla has been, the analyst is like, hey, we only see 3Y, S, and X, and then we were putting in assumptions for Cybertruck. We don't understand how you're getting to the 20 million. Well, they're answering it right here. Here are the products we're going to design, and what I like is that they went through the platform and how they're going to get there versus just taking the cover off of a bus. That they were polishing up all night to make it look great for the reveal. So yeah, their approach is looking at like what does the world consume the most of today, and how do we replace the combustion version of that with an electrified version of that as quickly as possible. And that's why you don't see the Roadster on here, in my opinion. And it's answering that question. And that's how I think Tesla approached this list. And what have they been focused on? They've been focused on the battery pack, the cell performance, obviously energy density. Obviously they've realized with LFP what's capable there. And they've been focused on the efficiency of their motors. They've been focused on metallurgy so they can make their structures lighter. They can make them with the less number of pieces, which means less number of adhesives, less amount of welding, which reduces size, weight, mass. So that's where they've been focused. They've been focused on the how. And then, these vehicles are going to kind of branch off of what a Gen 3 is. And it's exciting. I mean, you go through the pack size, the 53 kilowatt hour pack size. I mean, that's a meaningful reduction, depending on where you peg the cost per kilowatt hour. It could be thousands of dollars of reduction. Again, what do consumers want? They want a car that can go around, 300 miles. And if they can do that on, 53 kilowatt hours, then, more power to them. And that's one of the other reasons that, this rumored deal with cattle would be very important as well. And again, Tesla will have a very unique relationship with cattle. The Tesla cattle relationship will be very different than the Ford cattle relationship, just based on Tesla's capabilities and what they're building internally as a company and their ability to negotiate. And quite frankly, the assurity of demand that a cattle will get from a Tesla, both from the auto side and the energy side, that they're not going to get from a Ford or some of these other players in China. So there's the Tesla cattle deal will be great. That's where I see them, using LFP in these smaller size vehicles. The high nickel, I mean, that's the 4680. I mean, it could be the 2170, but it's a 4680. So I like that. And I like Tesla doing that, and it's significant. It's a significant number of vehicles as well. And it'll be interesting to see if Tesla can, they can bring that down further, into the Y again, which is it's shipping right now in the Y, but in smaller volumes. And then these, short range and heavy range trucks. I mean, I think they're trying to hit all of the segments, but do it in like we can, you can see the whole Tesla portfolio in less than two hands in terms of the number of models that we're working on. So I like it. I'm very encouraged by. I'm very encouraged by the focus on efficiency. I think they're going to beat, like on the 3 and Y. I think they can even do. Well, it depends. If they want to get more miles for the user, they may stick with the 75. I think they're putting commitments on here that they're going to meet or exceed.
Yeah. Well, what I love about this table, first of all, is clearly they're driven by mission, and the mission is looking at it from sustainable energy, and so they evaluate all the different things that contribute to it, and they want to address it. But I love, of course, we're all excited that they're going to do the compact car finally. Look at the global fleet, 686 million cars that you can probably sell, 42 million vehicle sales. So, that we're already at the Model 3 and Y. We already got the Model S and X and CyberTruck, and then the semis. But they're still going to do the vans and the bus, which, smaller numbers, but they probably can sell a lot higher price point. But the most important thing for all of us is the compact car, right? This is going to just open up the segments. And so it still confuses me why some people just cannot believe that Tesla is going to be able to do 20 million cars a year by 2030. Just seems like, this is how they're going to do it. They're going to open up the vehicle types, and the pack sizes show you that they can reduce their cost, and then the prices will be there. So this is from Farzad, and he said that, again, just repeating here, the compact car, this is the kind of the sales that you could probably see from each of these sections. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it just on my train of thought, I think they're focused on the number of miles times the number of people involved in moving from point A to point B. And that's why you see them in buses. They're also really focused on moving material with the semis and the amount of energy that's expended with those. So it's material and people movement, and how do you convert all of that in a sustainable form? Because guess what? You're going to need to do material and people movement on other planets as well. So I think it all kind of plays into the mission, which is, how do we get as many of these miles and as many of this movement out of an unsustainable format into EV. So it's exciting.
Yep. All right, move on. So there is new news as well yesterday that Tesla has sold one of the largest Megapack battery installations in the US to Apple. That's fantastic. So this is an example that many have been saying to us, that the Megapack energy business by Tesla is not just to utilities, which that alone, the peaker replacement of peaker plants, 1,000 of them in the US alone, but they're going to sell it to corporations and entities like this. And so this was the example, $100 million worth, 240 megawatt of this Megapack battery farm. So let me go ahead and just play a minute video just so you can see what this is all about. So this is going to power the Apple's corporate headquarters in Cupertino. There's these solar farms in Cow Flats. It delivers it to the Megapack facilities, and then that sends the energy. So this is amazing. This is an example, right? 22,000 cars equivalent. So I just want to hear more and more of these deals happening, and this is just step one, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're all being announced. And what happens a lot with technology is these things are figured out at at this scale for a company like Apple. And then, you figure out how to miniaturize it for smaller companies and eventually, more consistently residential. So it's exciting to see. I think we're just going to see more and more of this. I don't think all of these are even being announced. Tesla's got almost 2 years of backlog in this space. So it'll be interesting to see how the ramp of Lathrop and even new other mega pack facilities, which are rumored, Shanghai, potentially Mexico. It'd be interesting to see how those two converge with the ramp of those facilities and output and the demand.
Yep, sales are happening. We're going to start seeing it impact. Tesla Energy will start becoming a bigger deal this quarter, next quarter, and certainly by this year. So it's good to hear those kind of deals, not just the utilities, which we're already hearing about. So, okay, so this is Superchargers. So there's news now that Walmart is going to launch across all 5,000 stores that they have across the U.S. EV fast charging networks. Again, it's clear at this point that the EV revolution has happened. They have said that when they already had Superchargers in some of their stores, and they noticed that the usage has just skyrocketed, and EV sales grew 65%. So they knew that they needed to address this. And in addition to the $5 billion in funding by the IRA that incentivizes the EV charging network, so it just makes a ton of sense. So they finally announced right now they have 1,300 EV fast charging stations because they have a partnership with Electrify America across 280 of their retail locations. Now they're going to make it across the board. I think there's 5,000 of them, Walmart and Sam's Club stores by 2030. And they said, we think that we're one of the unique stores because we're within 10 miles of roughly 90% of all of our stores are within 10 miles of 90% of Americans. So I've always been saying this, right, Jeff? I mean, at some point, why isn't more and more of these mega companies, retailers, hotels, restaurants making announcements? Because as soon as you come out and you say, hey, every one of my stores will have a charger, it just gets into the consumer's head. Okay, if I need a charger, oh right, Walmart has one. Where's the nearest Walmart, right? First one to come out, you kind of hit it. Just like right now, who's the rental car company that has EVs in it, right?
Hertz.
Everybody thinks of Hertz right away because they came out first and made that major partnership. Every rental car company now needs to do this, but they don't have the consumer's mind share. So this is great to hear Walmart's doing it. What do you think that they chose? They kind of just said EV fast charging stations. They partner with Electrify America. Why not partner with Tesla? Are they trying to be careful with the brand? Is there Tesla's now opened up to any car, not just Teslas?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know how that went down. We don't know. They may second source the deal too, and they may add Tesla in at some point. So we don't know. It could be the first phase of the deal, but it's so smart for a company like Walmart to do this. Number one, the electricity is going to be paid by the user, but it keeps the user in the store or the consumer in the store longer, and attracts them to use their store maybe over another store that doesn't have it. So it's a smart move. I like your analogy of the first mover with Hertz, and if they're going to be the first mover, it's a great move for them. But in terms of Tesla, first off, Tesla's got in several stores. I know Target, several stores. They've got their superchargers set up already, and you can see. I think we have an upcoming article talking about the install rate. It's just dwarfing everything else. So I think in the long run, Tesla is going to continue to be a winner in the supercharger area, and it's going to be very analogous to what they've done on the auto side, which is first mover. And if you look at the inside, I've seen some of the teardowns of these charging units. The Tesla design is so much cleaner, less wiring, less clutter. It obviously probably has a much higher mean time to failure. That's a common metric used in the industry, meaning it fails less often. And so I'd have to think that in the long run, Tesla is going to be the winner here, because when these companies go out to bid, they've got to bid to their cost structure. And, if they have that increased complexity, they're going to, naturally be on the higher end of the bid. So I think this is Tesla's lane to dominate over the next century. But I'm sure there's going to be really good competition, coming soon, because this isn't rocket science to do either. But it is capital intensive. But now, as you said, the government is stepping in and really helping on the credit side too. So this is really going to explode. This is really going to change the landscape now. Because if you remember, as early Tesla owners, you're really hunting around for charging. That was Tesla. And I don't think you're going to be hunting around much longer.
No need. But, again, I'm still kind of confused, right? Because if you're Walmart and you look at the EV population right now, we're just saying who's got the market share? Tesla owners. And, it's then split up between all the others. Why would you go with EV America and not go with Tesla Superchargers that can service everybody? And, like somebody said here earlier, which is a great point, which is if you're a Tesla owner, you're not going to, was it Rayman did it again? Damn it. He always gets good comments that I put up here. A Tesla owner has no incentive to charge Electrify America. Yeah, exactly. So, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't they pick Tesla? Is there some sort of brand issue with, you don't want to be associated with Elon, or which we already showed just even last episode, Tesla's brand is strong. It's still very strong. There's been no impact.
Yeah, every metric is not only shown that it's strong, but it shows it's actually strengthening. So yeah, I think we can speculate. There's going to be a winner in all of these deals. I do think over time, if they're smart, they're going to multi-source the deal, so they're not locked into one provider. So I could see Tesla being a part of that at some point. But again, I think Tesla's doesn't really have an issue or concern of like not having enough people that want to buy their superchargers. I think they're in a pretty good position in terms of demand on those.
Here's another good point from T. Nelly. Tesla could pay for the supercharger units. Walmart could just donate the space. Win-win, especially with people shopping longer. Yeah, the reason is that Tesla has already made a commitment that every one of their superchargers will be, solar panels and mega packs, right? And so, you know what I mean? It's going to be free for Tesla, so they don't necessarily need to charge. I'm not sure if Electrify America is charging Walmart for this as well, but you know what I mean? It's like it could be a win-win for everybody. So, okay, we'll see.
I think this is the first. I mean, you'll see many of these deals coming down. So, this is where it's going. You're not seeing hydrogen stations being installed.
It's so ridiculous. Okay. But I am still expecting a big announcement from a big organization. Like I'm thinking McDonald's needs to come out and say partnership with Tesla. Every McDonald's has a Tesla charger and we'll make it happen. And so then it just becomes, right on your mind. Oh, I need a supercharger. Where is it? You don't even have to look it up in your map anymore. Right? Just go to local McDonald's. It just makes sense. Okay. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, Elon's talked about partnerships with a restaurant too, so it's kind of more of an all-inclusive experience. He even talked about making a 50s style diner. So right. I think he's thinking about beyond just the experience of getting out of your car and plugging in. I think he's thinking that way, but that'll be a more capital-intensive thing that at some point they may do.
Yeah. Okay. Another news today was just explaining that Tesla has installed 5 times as many charging stalls in the US in first quarter here compared to its next closest competitor. And some interesting information here. So according to EV adoption, their analysis showed that Tesla installed 1,292 charging posts across the US between January to March. That's 59% of all DC fast charging posts in the country. The next closest was EVgo, but it's a distant second with just 250. So again, 5 times less. And then if it's followed by ChargePoint, and then there is EV Connect, Rivian Adventure Network, and Electrify America. Whoa, Electrify America is so far behind. You'd be shocked, eh? You think that they're the number one. And we've been hearing
Hey, Herbert, I'm not sure if I lost you or can you guys hear me or hear Herbert? Okay, maybe Herbert's stuck for a bit. So yeah, I mean, I think getting back to this topic, this could be one of the factors why Walmart went with EV America, with Electrify America, which was basically, everywhere around Walmart's, there's probably Tesla Superchargers already. So, I mean, that may be one of the factors as well, as they look at their stores and they look at available charging, and there probably wasn't a lot of Electrify America available, so that probably weighed in to that deal as well. But yeah, Tesla's 5-1 lead, and again, they probably have a significant gross margin lead as well in terms of building these out, the relationships with the service providers, and they're making money, and now other auto manufacturers can plug in, and Tesla's reaping those at a higher margin rate. Tesla's getting higher margins from those supercharging miles from now competitive cars too. So the supercharging piece of it is really, it's always been a competitive advantage. When I've spoken to people about they're thinking about an EV and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about the Mach-E or the Tesla, what do you think? My first comment to them is like, well, if you want ubiquitous charge, you want to go across the country, not worry about the ability to charge, you want to be in a Tesla. And that's that's the answer I give most people. Hi, Herbert, welcome back to your show. You're muted, Herbert, or there's no audio. Okay, yeah, well, there you are.
Okay. My computer crashed. Okay, anyways.
Well, it looks like we got to get an upgrade. We got to get an upgrade going for you, Herbert.
No, I've got a latest MacBook Air, M1, all that.
Okay.
No audio.
It just crashed.
My audio crashed again.
We'll have to send that log file to Apple. Yeah, no, we just finished the charger topic, the 5-1 charger topic, and we're wrapping up.
Okay, good. All right. See everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks.